Okay, in this video, I'm going to pick up where I left off and now talk about the multiple step T-chart conversions. In number 6, we have a barrel of oil in an automotive shop that's partially full. Apparently, the gauge on the side is reading that it's 0.045 barrels full. That's how much of oil we have in this particular barrel. And we need to know if there's enough oil in that barrel to do a few oil changes today. Now, a typical motor vehicle these days, on a gasoline engine anyway, uses between 4 and 5 quarts of oil. So we would like to convert 0.045 barrels into quarts. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with what I know, 0.045 barrels. I don't know the abbreviation for that, so I'm going to leave it as barrels over 1. And I know that I'm going to need barrels to cancel, so I'm going to put barrels in the bottom. I have no idea what the conversion factor for barrels is to quarts, so I'm going to check my list here. And I don't see anything on this page. I'm looking at the capacity group over here. I don't see anything about barrels or barrels to quarts. See, I still don't see anything over here, barrels to quarts. And I still don't see it up here anywhere. Even at the top of the page, no help. So, let me give you a bit of a hint. Again, I don't know what the barrels to quart conversion is, but I will tell you this, that there are, for every barrel is it's a formal measurement of capacity, of volume. 1 barrel is equivalent to 42 gallons. Now, that doesn't help us tremendously here, but it does get us going in the right direction. Because what I can do is I can convert barrels to gallons. And I know that there's 1 barrel and 42 gallons. And through the process of the T-chart, I'll get barrels to cancel, but that means I'm left in gallons here. Well, here's where the T-chart really gains its popularity in my book. I can just add another T on the end of this, and I can convert from gallons to quarts now. Now, I know this one, but in case you don't, we can look back at our chart here, and here's gallons and quarts. So we've got barrels to gallons. You might want to add this one to your sheet, by the way. And now 4 quarts per gallon. And again, with this whole process, I'm not thinking about whether we're multiplying by the conversion factor or dividing. I'm just writing down the information as I find it. I know that there are 4 quarts in a gallon, and I needed gallons on the bottom, so quarts has to go on top. In that intermediate step, I had gallons on top of barrels, and there were 42 gallons per barrel. And so now I've got my T-chart built. All I've got to do is multiply straight across the tops. So pull out my calculator here, 0.045 times 42 times 4 looks like 7.56, and our units canceled until we got to the end here, so we're dealing with quarts across the top. The math across the bottom is pretty easy. 1 times 1 times 1 is equal to 1 with no unit. So it looks like we have about 7.56 quarts left in that barrel. So is there enough to complete a few oil changes today? Probably not. I'd say 1 oil change is about all you can do here. But now we know. We had 0.045 barrels on hand, and that's the same as 7.56 quarts. I've had students in the past tell me that it feels like my math classes drag on and on for way too long, and it feels like class is dragging on for days instead of minutes. And we need to know if I really did sit in class for 0.075 days, because that's what it feels like. So in order to answer that question, we better convert 75 minutes to days. 75 minutes into days. Now, again, I don't know what the conversion factor is for minutes into days, but I bet we can complete this with a T-chart. So I'm going to write down what we know. We've sat in class for 75 minutes. And I'll build a T-chart around that, 75 minutes over 1. And I want minutes to cancel, so I'm going to put minutes in the bottom on the right side of this T-chart. But unless I can find how many minutes there are in a day, I'm going to have to do some conversions intermittently or in between. Now, I don't see any time conversions on this page, and that's okay because I think you know the conversions well enough along the way. And you would agree with me that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, so that would work great as an intermediate conversion. It's not going to get us to days like we had hoped, but with an additional section on this T-chart, we can make that happen. Now that hours are in the top of our chart, I want to put hours in the bottom of our chart so that we get the units to cancel. And I'm ultimately trying to change hours into days. Now I'm ignoring the numbers from a few minutes ago, and I'm just going to think, well, how many days are there in an hour? Or vice versa, how many hours are in 1 day? Well, as long as we've built our chart correctly like this, and we've got our units to cancel, 1 unit in the top and the bottom row, 1 unit in the top and the bottom row, then I think we're going to end up in days after we're all finished. So I'll go ahead and multiply across the top. 75 times 1 times 1, which is 75, and the units that are left over are days. And in the bottom, 1 times 60 times 24. Well, 1 times 60 is 60, times 24 is 1440. No units in the denominator. And now that I've obtained a single fraction at the very end, I can go ahead and divide those two, because that's what a fraction is. It's a mini division problem. And 75 divided by divided by 1440 is 0.05208. 0.052, I'll round that up to 0.1. So no, we have not been sitting in class, or you have not been sitting in class for 0.075 days. If you've been sitting for 75 minutes, you've only been sitting in class for 0.05 days. Let's try another one before the time runs out in this video. The other day I was sitting in a traffic jam and I was barely moving. And I'd like to know if my GPS was accurate enough to actually determine my new position. I only moved 46 inches in that time that I was thinking about this problem. So I would like to convert 46 inches into miles because my GPS works in miles. Well, 46 inches, I'll start with that because that's what I know and build a T-chart around it. So I'm going to put 46 over 1, and I'd like to convert away from inches. See if we can do this without looking at our chart here. I don't know how many inches are in a mile, but I do know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot, and that gets me a little bit closer to a mile, but we're still not quite there. So I'm going to keep thinking here. Let's see here, feet. Do I know another measurement? Well, sure. Feet, there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile, and that'll get me there, and I can complete the math with this T-chart. But maybe you weren't thinking correctly, or maybe you didn't add your notes from before into our unit conversions table here, and you notice that there are 3 feet in 1 yard and then 1,760 yards in 1 mile. Well, we can go that route too. There are 3 feet in 1 yard and 1,760 yards in 1 mile. Now, all along, there's a unit in the numerator, or sorry, the top of the T-chart and the bottom of the T-chart. Feet cancel with feet, inches cancel with inches, yards cancel with yards, and now we're left with miles. All we've got to do is multiply straight across the top of the T-chart. Well, that's easy. 46 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 46 miles. And across the bottom, 1 times 12 is 12, times 3 times 1,760 gives me 63,360. 63,360. No units in the bottom here. But now I've got something I can divide. 46 divided by 63,360 is 7 point, ooh, that's kind of nasty here. This calculator gave me an answer in scientific notation, and I didn't expect that. I'll help you out here, though. This decimal is 0.0000726. This E -4 means that there are 4 zeros in front of the decimal 726. Now, I have moved 46 inches, which is the same as this decimal, 0.000726 miles. I'd rather doubt that my GPS is this accurate. So we've got a couple more questions that are left here. I challenge you to complete 9, 10, 11, and 12 on your own. I'm going to pause the video here and complete number 12 just so that you can see this large conversion here. But I do want to make sure that you do this work on your own. Convert your age into seconds. Thanks for watching.